There's a quote, and the origin of it is not particularly certain, but most people attribute it to John Bradford, an English preacher, who is said to have said this phrase as he was walking on his way and saw a group of criminals heading off to their final punishment. And the phrase is one you might be familiar with: "There, but for the grace of God, go I." And I think it's a really, really helpful phrase for us to continue to reflect and meditate on. It's one I've personally found helpful in moments where I'm tempted to judge. And like we're hearing in today's gospel, Jesus tells us, "Judge not, lest you be judged, and the measure with which you measure will be measured out to you." But this phrase, "There but for the grace of God go I," is a beautiful reflection and meditation. So when somebody comes up and does something that I'm tempted to judge them for, you can call it to mind. And first of all, we might realize that if I'm overreacting as much as I am, then I'm not the saint that I should be just yet, and there's no place for me to judge. But this other phrase is helpful in putting us in a place of humility and realizing God's great action in our lives. There, but for the grace of God, go I. I am a weak and fallen human being. I struggle with the human condition and concupiscence. I tend towards sin. And there are areas in my life where maybe I'm strong in reference to temptation, and other areas where I'm weak. So, maybe that person in front of me is weak in one area, but I'm strong in that area, but they might be strong in another area, and I'm weak in that area where they are strong. We all have our own particular struggles, and the truth is, in the truest of truths, that if God had not been sustaining me in that area where I'm strong, I would have become the greatest sinner there. Sure, I've cooperated with God's grace, but it's been God's action from beginning to end, and as it continues on, going from strength to strength. So as I'm looking at somebody else who I'm tempted to judge, to realize in a compassionate way that we are of the same stock. We both struggle with the human condition. We're both tend to weakness and to sin. And we both are reliant on God's grace for us to be good. And we can be grateful to God for the ways that he has sustained us with his grace, but it gives us no place to judge another person, because we would be in the same place for them without God's grace. There, but for the grace of God, go I. A beautiful reflection that we can continue to hold into our hearts, that as we go about our days can help us not to judge the other person, but to have compassion on them, to pray for them, and to give glory to God for the work he's done in our own lives.